Ontario. I'm Amita Vora, the media coordinator for Football Canada, and we're hosting a Facebook Live event in anticipation of the World Junior Championships in Mexico City, Mexico next month. We're joined by Junior National Team Head Coach Steve Sumarah. Steve, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
So Steve, before we get started, I just want to tell our viewers, if anybody has questions, you can certainly ask Steve a question or give him a comment about wishing the team luck and the coaching staff luck in Mexico City. You can do that live on our feed, and we'll try our best to actually showcase some of the questions and comments during this event. So my first question for you, any of the viewers that doesn't know your background as a coach and a player, can you give them some insight into who you are?
Sure. Well, I started, I'm born and raised in Halifax, so my football days are from minor right through high school. I've been part of that, and then went on to play at St. X, and then followed that up with a year at St. Mary's, and then got into coaching, and spent 5 years coaching at St. X, and then 13 at St. Mary's, and now been at Carleton, going into it's actually year 7. Year 6 of our program, but year 7. It's amazing how fast it's gone.
And just to talk about the junior national team, for those people that don't know, can you explain to them when you got involved in the process and why you decided to be involved in this process?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the why is the easy question. I mean, anytime you get a chance to represent your country and be part of something of this magnitude, it's an unbelievable experience, and one that it's kind of the icing on the cake for in terms of coaching. Getting involved, I started probably now 3.5 years ago. Went through an interview process and got involved and watched Coach Craney do an amazing job for the last few years prior, and he's put the pressure on us in a good way. And then now we're off to, now we have the team somewhat ready to go, and off to Mexico City.
Speaking of Mexico City, you recently went on a site visit. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that experience was like from the standpoint of the stance of the atmosphere, the city itself, and just the build-up around this event?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of a funny comment to say, but I had somebody when I was down there ask me, they go, "Hey, have you ever been to Mexico before?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been to Cancun a couple of times." And they go, "That's not Mexico. That's like Miami." And I was like, and it's a bit of a true statement. Mexico City itself felt like very much like a South American city. The vibe in there was very positive. The people were incredibly friendly, and it's going to be a eye-opening experience for people. That's there's a lot of maybe some negative press about Mexico City, but the area we were in was gorgeous, and just the city itself had such an energy to it.
Now, you did go to the site of where the Olympics were.
Yes.
Tell me what that was like.
Oh, an amazing experience. The 68 Olympics, there was so many great events at that time. To be able to walk in that stadium and feel that energy, even today, that was in there, and looking at seeing the construction of the stadium and the grass. I mean, walking out on the field itself, and this beautiful grass field, and the stadium itself is going to be an amazing experience just in itself of the tournament.
Let's go over to our own Team Canada. And let me ask you, because the last time you and I met, it was the International Bowl,
Yes.
where we had our teams competing against Team USA. What have you been doing from the moment the International Bowl ended right up until now?
Well, the biggest thing we've been doing is just to be honest, it's the organization of getting, hopefully 45 guys to to get down to Mexico City, and I think Aaron at Football Canada has been just invaluable in helping with this process, and unfortunately, with these events and the timing of events, you have people that are working and have jobs, and some kids in the university, and it becomes a little bit more challenging. The team you may think you have is not necessarily the team you end up with, but I can tell you we have a pretty strong team, and I'm pretty excited to get these guys together in Mexico City.
So you and the coaching staff obviously have been working hard. Let's talk a little bit about the actual team now.
For sure.
Let's go over to the offensive side. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. There's different styles or the similar styles. What are we going to expect from the quarterbacks?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we have 3 very athletic kids. And that's going to be a very interesting component that we're going to add to our offense. And they'll be very much involved in, not only throwing the ball, but also their ability to run. And they can do things with their legs and things with their feet. And so it's going to be good to see that component of it and adding that piece to it.
And then you obviously have your core of running backs. Can you talk a little bit about what we can expect in terms of that playing style and that scheme that we're going to do?
Well, I think what we have is we have 3 very talented kids that can play, that can carry the ball, and a combination of strength and speed and ability to make people miss in an open field is going to be a nice addition. We're going more with a 1-back set as opposed to a little bit more of a 2-back set, and getting our backs, they can all catch the ball well. So getting them out in the catching passes in open space and not to utilize their speed and one-on-one ability.
Is that going to be the same with the receivers, or what are we expecting to see from them?
Yeah, it would be basically the same type of thing. You try to isolate some guys. We have some kids that are matchup nightmares for all the teams, and we want to take full advantage of that. And I think just the thing we looked at was make sure we had lots of speed, and realizing from the International Bowl that speed's going to be a big piece to this. That's what we want to make sure we can.
So on the flip side of this, the defense, what can we anticipate from this play?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, like anything on these short tournaments, you have to be able to stop them. And I think our defensive line, we've had a few new guys come in and so on, and we feel really good about that. I think from a defensive standpoint, our biggest asset is going to be our ability to fly around to the ball and gang tackle people and make them not give them a breath. We want to be aggressive, but smart in aggressiveness, and try to keep them, keep our guys, keep our defense off the field means, offense keeping the ball and defense creating turnovers and so on.
So, obviously, one of the big components of winning championship or any sort of game are obviously your offensive and defensive lines.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about size or speed or stopping?
Yes, for sure. Well, to start with the offensive line, I think, games are won and lost, as they say in the trenches. And I feel like we have a core of guys that have been around for a bit, a core of guys that are coming in. This will be sort of the first opportunities for this. But I think what we have is the ability to run the ball. I think we have some kids that are very physical, and you're going to need that. When you play 3 games in that short time period, you need to be able to eat up the clock and to be honest with you, shorten these games a little bit because there's so many in such a short time. But I think the other thing is we have depth on offensive and defensive lines. Our defensive line, we think we can go too deep at every position, which is great, and to keep those guys fresh. The one point that we haven't talked about is the altitude. And Mexico City does have, even being down there on the site visit, you could feel that the air and everything was just a little bit heavier, and we're going to have to keep our guys fresh, and that's going to be rotational of those guys. So it'll be very important that we've got a good core of them, and they're all ready to play.
How integral is special teams going to be when it comes to this championship?
Well, I can tell you that anytime that you get a chance to put points on the board, it's going to be key. And we can't give up big plays on special teams. They're such momentum changers, and I'm very confident in the people we have. And again, special teams is also about your depth, because one guy can't play on all the teams, so you're going to have to spread the wealth around. And I feel confident that we have those guys, and it's going to be. We've got some guys that can return the ball, and hopefully, as we don't want to give up big plays, hopefully we in turn can create a couple of big plays.
Just before we continue on here, just to remind people, if you have a question or a comment for Head Coach Steve Sumarah, please send them in on the feed, and we will answer them. So, the first game is against Sweden.
Yes.
What do you know about them? How are you going to prepare for this game?
Yeah, it's a great question. How much do we know? Right now, very little. I think Sweden was maybe a little bit of a surprise that they came out of Europe and so on. But my understanding, having met their coach and so on, I mean, they're going to be a very disciplined and very physical team. And so we're going to have to match that. One of the challenges of these games, going in a little bit blind, is not focusing so much on the other opponent as you are making sure that we take care of our own kitchen. And for us, that's just going to be about execution, no turnovers, keeping the game simple, making things in our world what we're good at. And then as the game goes on, that's when our coaching's got to come into play, and now we're going to have to make any adjustments.
So, Steve, with this being an international tournament, can you speak to the other teams that are going to be in this field and what you're anticipating from these teams heading into this championship?
Yeah, well, I've learned a lot when I was down there speaking to some of the other head coaches and that. And, we sometimes think in Canada that we have the second biggest football in the world, but I discovered that Mexico has more university playing teams than we do, and Japan has quadrupled, if not more. And I think that was a bit of an eye opener for myself, just to realize that this is going to be a battle for us. Again, Coach Graney did a great job. They got into the gold medal game and beat the Americans in the last one. But there's 6 teams there, and I think it's going to be a dogfight week to week, 3 days to 3 days apart kind of thing.
I do have to ask, Canada is going in as the defending gold medalist from Harbin, China. How much pressure is there for the team to repeat, and how are you handling that with the team heading into this championship?
Well, I think with anything, an opportunity to win is the pressure in itself. I mean, if you didn't enjoy the pressure, then you probably wouldn't want to be involved in something like this.
Right.
Handling it, I think it's very cliche, but we have to take it one play at a time. We have to make sure that we're focused on the things that we need to focus on and things that we can control. Right. At the end of the day, if our guys play to the best of their ability, I like our chances. I think we're bringing an experienced team, and I think we're also bringing a team that are very competitive.
What are the goals and expectations for Team Canada going in Mexico City?
Simple, to win. I think anything less than that would be a bit of a disappointment. And as the coach, I want to win. I'm competitive. I want to win.
I know that about Steve. He's very competitive.
and I think from that standpoint, it's it's a one goal thing, and our goal is to go in and win. And we're going to make sure we put our guys in situations for them to be successful.
So, Steve, we actually have a question from Ontario Football.
Okay.
Their question is, who are some of the top players you expect to excel this year?
Oh, it's a great question. I think, if I look back from the International Bowl this year, I mean, Tyson and Jalen Philpott were at the U18 level, were just dominant. We're expecting those guys to again perform. Carl Shabbat 2 years ago, who wasn't healthy enough to play this year, was exceptional player. I'm going to give a shout out to two of my guys, Cole and Danny McWhorter. They, we're expecting those guys to be major contributors.
And that's Cole Hepburn.
Yes, Cole Hepburn.
Okay.
And it's so I think from that the quarterback situation is going to be very interesting. I think we have three very good guys, and it's going to be interesting to see the time we get to the gold medal game. Fingers crossed that we will. Who's going to be the sort of the guy that's going to be leading the show at that point?
We just want to thank Football Ontario, by the way, for that question. So, Steve, talk a little bit about how important and I guess the integral part of the support from Canada and beyond has been for this team, and how much that's going to carry through into Mexico City.
Yeah, well, it's a great question, because I think the only way these kind of events happen is by buy-in. And I think one of the things I've seen over the last couple of years is, this has been obviously a very driven by Football Canada event, but you can see all the provinces have really supported this, which has made it stronger and stronger. And I think more kids are wanting to get involved. How do I get involved? And I want to be part of Team Canada. And I think we're still a long ways away, but I think this is the beginning of sort of the next 2 years from this. Hopefully we can have some more success, and then beyond, and making sure that this is a premier event for the 18, 19-year-old guys in this country.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the United States.
Yes.
They are going to be one of the favorites.
For sure.
Your main competition. Talk a little bit about the United States team and going into this, what you're expecting and how you think they'll fare.
Well, it was interesting. Their general manager talked about their pool of 5,000 kids they were choosing from to pick their team of 45. So it was kind of like, whew, that puts things in a little bit of perspective. Obviously, Warren poked the bear 2 years ago when they beat them. So I'm sure they're going to be having their A team with them. And,
right.
I think the biggest thing for us is, they have to remain nameless and faceless. Like, it's just our opponent. The minute we start thinking that this is your U.S. and this is U.S. football and this is, the best of the best in the world and all of those things, I think we'll really struggle. But if we just stay focused on, it's an opponent and we have to battle our opponent, we'll put ourselves in a better situation. We know they're going to be strong, they're going to be big, they're going to be fast, they're going to be well coached. But as Warren proved 2 years ago, when your best players have to play, and they can only put 11 on the field at a time.
So we actually have a question from Jamie. Thank you, Jamie, for the question. Do you think that the long travel down to Mexico City will be a factor for the Canadian players when they compete?
That's a good question. One of the nice things is that we're going to run training camp down there. So we'll be down there essentially a week prior to get acclimatized to not only the altitude, the food, just being in a different country, and getting used to just people think it's hot that time, but it's actually rainy season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's about getting adjusted to that. I think the travel, once we're there, the first couple of days, like anything, you'll be shaking out the cobwebs. But as we move forward, I kind of feel like it will be great that we got there early. And I think that was a big benefit in Carbon, is that they were there earlier than all the other teams. And again, same thing for us. We're going to be there first. And when you're there first, I don't know, maybe that's a competitive side, but you feel like you own the place now. And
Right.
That's a bit of our attitude going in.
So, Steve, you didn't talk about the coaching staff here. For those viewers that don't know the coaching staff, can you tell us who they are again?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Obviously, also another question to that: how important of a role they're going to play with this team?
Definitely. I mean, the biggest. There's so many things that happen in such a short time. You need a cohesive group. And I feel like the fact we've been able to stay together for a couple of times, for a couple events has really helped. We'll start with the offense. JP Aslan, obviously we coached together here at Carleton, and Gord Beatty, who I coached with at St. Mary's and St. X for probably 18 years. Coach Barisi at Ottawa U, whose experience in the U.S. game is second to none. On the defensive side, having Jeff Cummins, who Jeff and I are very good friends, and we spent many years battling out east. Sebastian Petro doing the D line, who's running a great program at Rootaway. I'm a Brian Bradford out from out west, who's been involved with football for, sorry Brian, 100 years. Having his experience at linebacker, and then having Olivier coming on board as our DB coach. And then all of us kind of sharing into the special teams component is a big factor. And then, I'd be remiss not to talk about our support staff. Adam and Nina with the therapy side, which is such an important piece. Having Wayne, who's our equipment manager here, being down there, it's great. It's that continuity that we're going to have, and then also having Aaron, who's does a lot of coaching himself, and just having him understand very well the flow. And we have a plan, but we know the reality is the plan will change 50 times when we're there. So
Steve, I'm going to give you an opportunity here towards the end of the Facebook Live event. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers? We have players, we have coaches, we have parents, we have just normal general public watching this today.
Right.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I just think that these young men have given up, some of them summer jobs, some of them, opportunities to do other things, to want to represent the country. And I think the support that we can give them is going to go a long way. And I think they should be commended for their want and desire to represent Canada, and we're making it proud.
I have one last question. What does it mean for you to wear the maple leaf, represent Canada down in Mexico City?
It's huge. To me, the reason I wanted to get involved in this is because of the representation of my country, and I'm a proud Canadian, and I love Canadian football, and this is a chance for us to go out and kind of show the world, Canada's pretty darn good at this.
And I apologize if you have one more question. So, obviously, it's stereotypically that the U.S. is always known as being the top when it comes to the football world. How do you react when people say that? And what can you say about where Canada's place is, as well as how the game has developed internationally?
For sure. Well, I guess the first piece to that is, there's no question the Americans have been doing this longer. Well, I shouldn't say quite longer if we go back in the history books, but obviously at many more people involved. And, there's no question that they are the best. And I don't think any of us would sit here and argue that. My thing is, when we put our 11 guys on the field and they put 11, I think our 11 match up just as well as their 11. Internationally, it's amazing to see the growth of football, and it's fantastic. Football unfortunately has had some negative press lately, and I guess I'm biased. I'm allowed to be. I have the form, right? So
yes, that's right.
Yeah,
I
can say this. So I think one of the best games in the world, one of the best team games in the world, is football. When you think about, you can play it at any size, at any speed, at any ability. There's a place for you to be a part of a team, and you talk about the best cohesive team game in the world. There's nothing better than football, and it's good to see that the growth of the sport nationally and internationally continues. And I would be remiss not to feel a little excited to be a part of that.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck in Mexico City. We hope that the team does well, and it's going to be an exciting few weeks leading up to the championship, and we hope Canada does well.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So I just want to end up by saying that we are going to be doing a couple more preview stories on Football Canada's website as well as social media outlets. We are going to have a roster update on Tuesday, so to look out for that. Just keep tuned into Football Canada for all things World Junior Championships. We want to thank Head Coach Steve Sumarah for his time this afternoon, and thank you so much from Ottawa. Have a good day. Bye.
Take care.